But as you can see, the same OVA experience, not as good as the PC experience, is available on the mobile phone. So what we are aiming for is to deliver that best productivity experience across the PC, the browser, and the phone. Now, it's not going to be the same experience. Your PC experience would be a 5-star experience any day. All right. The browser would be a 4-star, mobile could be a 3-star experience. But the point is, the consistency of viewing, the consistency of experience should be as close as possible to the best one. But currently, the client, native client, is for Winmo. If you guys noticed, we did make an announcement along with Nokia, where we said that we are building an Office client and a communicator client for Nokia platforms. But it's not out there. The development work has just started on that one.
So that's separate from this.
Yeah, so that the Nokia piece has not yet landed. We also want to use Excel as a way to stand out in terms of presentation. Now, anybody can do up a chart of 300 columns by 200 columns. The question is, are you communicating the value out? The guy who is reading a chart, can he figure out the stuff that you're trying to say? This goes back to my second point, which is, first was keep my life simple, to help me look good in my company and in my colleagues. Now, this is Excel 2010. You can see some fancy conditional formatting that we have built in. This was there in Office 2010 as well. In the interest of time, I'm just going to quickly show you a couple of things, and then we'll move on. You see this chart? Can you guys tell me which is the highest selling month for that particular store? It's very hard.
No, without some.
And you guys have seen these kind of charts before, which you can't make head or tail out of? Happens all the time.
Only the person who made the chart knows what it is.
Yeah.
And they send it out to you and they expect you
to figure it out.
And then you need to come back and meet for like half an hour and say, let's work this out, right? So, I mean.
So we always are constantly striving to make this experience simpler for the end user to stand out. So for example, in 2010, we have this thing called slicers built in. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to say, I want to do a line. And this is my data range, this particular product. And my location range is this, and I'm going to press OK. Now, as you can see, this is a chart inside a cell. Alright, just for that particular row. I could obviously go ahead and format it and add the high point, the low point. I could also turn it into a column chart. This is all within one cell. And guess what? It gets better. I could just take this and drag and drop to the rest of the cell, and there you go. This is the whole trend analysis for this from January to June for this particular row in one cell. Now, instead of sending this complicated chart, I could just send this particular simple table out, and it makes it much easier for the end user to figure it out and understand it, to do action on top of it. Other things that we are building into Excel 2010, this thing called pivot tables. Pivot tables were there since the longest time in Excel, but pivot tables are hard for end users to get. We are building this thing called slicers in 2010, where you could just visually go ahead and do this kind of analysis. Just click on the year, the number shows up, the filtering, and all of these things are ended up there. Okay, so a lot of features. I think my friend Anik would talk a little bit more about the BI experience. Did you guys know what's the maximum number of rows we could handle in Excel?
Don't remember.
We started off with 64,000 something a couple of versions ago. In 2007, we moved it to I think about 1 million rows we could handle. In 2010, you could handle spreadsheets with a 20 million by 20 million kind of spreadsheets.
Actually, it's
not that
100 million rows.
It's
100 million rows manipulation.
Oh, there you go, 100 million rows. Now, I wonder what you will put inside a 100 million row spreadsheet. But we just want to make sure we put those capabilities. And guess what? When you sort 100 million row in Excel, it takes less than a second. You could do those analysis very fast in Excel 2010. Now, let me move on because I got a colleague waiting on the other side. Now, in Outlook, we showed you the Outlook web experience. How does it tie seamlessly with our client as well as the web experience? I'm going to show you the same for Excel. So I'm going to go ahead and go to my Skydrive. This is a free hosting service from Microsoft. It's available to all of us. This is my folder inside.
So, wait, does everybody know what Skydrive is?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's right.
Right.
So let me go ahead, and the file that you saw earlier, sales analysis, I've uploaded it onto my Skydrive as well. And I'm going to double click this thing. I'm going to say view. What it is doing is now it is invoking the Excel web app from our servers and rendering the same Excel in a browser. Again, I'm running it in Firefox, as you would notice. Notice the fidelity and the clarity of the thing that's coming up in the browser. It is way, way superior from anybody else that's out in the market today. And it's completely, as we talk about high fidelity viewing. Now you would tell me, as you can see, the chart is here as well. You could just go ahead and you would tell me, Rashid, viewing is great, but I need to be able to edit some of this. So I'm going to go ahead and click the edit button in the browser. And guess what happens? See this interface? Does it look familiar to what we have on the client today? It's the same interface or similar. It's a limited functionality interface which we are rendering for the browser. Now I could go ahead and so I could go ahead and render each one of these charts the way I'm used to. So for example, I could just go ahead, change this to 1, and as you would notice, the chart below, there was a chart here that just fell down because I changed it. You could also go ahead and enter formulas in each of these cells, just like you are used to. So for example, if you want to enter formula, and imagine this is all happening in the browser today. Now I want to show you something else. I want to ask a colleague of mine to join into the conversation. So I'm going to say, Keith is a friend of mine, he's a colleague of mine, he's sitting upstairs. I'm going to say, hi Keith.